Welcome to Legacy Leaders, a weekly talk show with national and local thought leaders on issues impacting the South Florida Black community. Now introducing our host, Anne-Marie Sorrell.
Hello, and welcome to Legacy Leaders. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Sorrell, President and CEO of the Mosaic Group. Today, I'm joined by lifelong educator and community leader, Dr. Steve Gallen III, who is also the Miami-Dade County School Board member for District 1. Today, we will discuss Florida's state standards on Black history for middle and high school students. Welcome, Dr. Gallen.
Good afternoon. How are you? How are you doing, Anne-Marie? It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to speak with you as well, Dr. Gallen. For our audience who may not be familiar with you and the work that you have done over your career in Miami-Dade County and in the education system, can you just give us a brief background, of your story?
Yes. I'm crossing over 34 years in education. I've served as a teacher, an elementary school principal, a high school principal, district administrator. I've served as a superintendent of schools. I've also served at the university level in educational leadership, program development. And in 2016, I had the distinct honor of being elected to the school board of Miami-Dade County Public Schools, which is now the nation's third largest school district.
Wow. Well, you definitely come with a wealth of knowledge for our topic here today, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts and opinions on the new legislation that is shaping our education system here in the state of Florida. Particularly, Governor Ron DeSantis and some of Florida's lawmakers, as some may know, have made a series of attacks on diversity and equity. And with the most recent, with their anti-woke laws, being an attack on African-American history in our schools for high school and middle school students. What are your thoughts on just, everything that's been happening as it impacts diversity and equity, but now African-American history? Can you share your thoughts, and then we're going to get into what this actual law means?
Clearly, great question. Clearly, I'm a strong advocate of inclusion, equity, and access for not only African American people, but all people from marginalized communities and groups in our community, and quite frankly, throughout the nation. This really serves as what the bedrock of opportunity that this country has advocated for hundreds of years in any effort to undermine an opportunity for people who have been marginalized to get a step ahead is always a concern. That being said, the initial effort is obviously at the university level. There has not been any explicit policy positions relative to K through 12, but clearly there are some efforts that have been underway reflected in recent legislation that seeks to, in some shape, form, or fashion, diminish diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we are an inclusive school district. We are an inclusive state. We are an inclusive country. And we should expand inclusion, not seek to diminish it. So from that vantage point, there's always a concern. I don't want to speculate on anyone's intention, but we can only assess the impact and the outcome of what is reflected in the legislative process most recently here in the state of Florida.
Absolutely. Well, that takes us to African-American history in middle and high school, African-American studies, which, in my personal humble opinion, I already was of the belief that there was not enough history being taught after African diaspora in our schools, and to now reframe history, or an attempt to reframe history, is really appalling. And so can you tell us more about these new Florida standards for middle and high schoolers and what the impact is?
Thank you. Absolutely. The initial catalyst for this discourse, and quite frankly, this cacophony and rancor, did not start with the most recent release and adoption of the standards for social studies. You may recall several months ago, there was a national discourse regarding the state of Florida's contemplation of not offering AP African American history. Subsequent to that particular discourse, that was diminished and that has been allowed. But again, the AP American History course and related assessments, those are voluntary. Those are voluntary. Those are obviously courses that reflect college credit. Those are courses in which our middle, in very rare cases, but quite frankly, our high school students, in some cases, choose to take. But the standards that we're recently talking about right now are standards for middle and high school students that are not voluntary, that they're mandatory, and that they're standards that are not reflective of totally Black history. They're part of the social studies curriculum. And the social studies curriculum speaks to middle and high school students. What has gotten a major level of concern and obviously offense, I will say offense, not simply from Black people, but from all people who are concerned about truth, who are concerned about access, and who are concerned about efforts to bring us closer together, not further apart, is a section that's reflected in the Black Histories section of the social studies standards. And again, the Black history component is 9.2% of the social studies standards. So it's not an entire curriculum. You have a social studies curriculum that covers a gamut of areas, from civics, from economics, from financial literacy, from the Civil War. But you do have a section that is framed for Black history, which represents, again, less than 10% of the entire social studies curriculum. That being said, a very important 10%. And I believe, as a lifelong educator, and I've said publicly, we have no margin of error for inaccuracy. We have no margin of error to plant seeds of division, of disinformation, of misinformation, and of any notions that will suggest in any shape, form, or fashion that one of the most horrific atrocities known to mankind, which is the African slave trade and the slave chattel, was okay, that there was some silver lining. And I think some of the language in the section is what has caused this degree of rancor, this degree of offense, and this degree of discourse throughout the state, and quite frankly, as you see, throughout the nation. And I will say, division and rancor and discourse that transcends race, transcends color, transcends gender, transcends policy. And again, individuals on either side have expressed concerns regarding this. And obviously, as a lifelong educator and a parent, I will be concerned as well.
Absolutely. And as you should be, I mean, everyone should be appalled to, one, to even have anywhere written or even implied that slavery has benefited people of color, Black people specifically, right? Yes. You know, so that in itself is very upsetting. And so how do you think that these changes, because apparently this is just, I think this is just, like you said, it started months ago, and then here's this component, and I'm sure we're going to see more. And when you only have 10% of history being taught, as I said in my opening statement, that I, believe that there should have been much more, because there's so much Black history that is not covered, that is not taught, and people don't understand the contributions that Black people have made to this country. They're significant. Our young people don't understand the contributions that we were inventors and great creators and builders of this nation. And so not to have that history already being, brushed under the rug, and then now rewriting history.
Yes. And let me clarify. It's important that I clarify. It's not 10% of Black history. The Black history is 10%, less than 10% of the social studies curriculum. Social studies covers the gamut. It's not just Black history. But in this particular case, which was a real positive effort, I will be disingenuous if I don't say that, the state of Florida has led historically in requiring and mandating African American history be taught to all students. So when there was a discourse regarding the AP African American history course, I was not necessarily overly concerned, because I knew that there were statutory provisions that require that Black history is taught in the state of Florida. So we're unique in that particular position. These standards sought to take it a step further, but in certain segments of these standards under Black history, there's some misinformation, there's some disinformation, and there's some dismissiveness regarding the horrific atrocities of slavery, and to suggest in any shape, form, or fashion, once again, that there is some sort of silver lining, that slavery was some sort of jobs training program, is disingenuous at best and offensive at worst.
Absolutely, Dr. Gavin. Thank you for that clarification. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back to continue our discussion.
I grew up down here in South Florida, so for me, it's a little bit more personal.
For the Mesman & Dover Law Firm, it's about community.
For us, South Florida's our home. You all are our people.
Our family. Our future.
The difference we'll make for you, your loved ones, your kids, matters. Because to us, it's personal.
If you need us, call us 24/7 at 866-954-MORE.
That's 866-954-6673. The Mesman & Dover Law Firm, youraccidentattorneys.com.
Help comes in many forms. As a Miami-Dade County bus operator, you can help your community, help those in need, and even help yourself. Operators have the opportunity to earn more than $50,000 a year plus built-in overtime, earn more than 13 paid holidays and vacation days, and take advantage of the tuition reimbursement program. Plus, qualified new drivers will receive a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Become a driving force in our community. Apply now at miamidade.gov/busdriver.
At DRT Behavioral Services, we provide culturally sensitive mental health evaluations with thorough treatment plans, incorporating alternative forms of wellness, not just Western traditional medicine. Besides medication management and psychotherapy, we provide education to people in the areas of minority mental health with classes on your diet's impact on mood and sleep hygiene for better rest. We also offer weight loss therapy, massages, and facials. Visit brainlovehelp.com today.
Welcome back, Dr. Gallen, as we continue our discussion. So what impact do you think that this particular change can have on our students? And is there any recourse that the public has? What can parents do at this point?
Well, I think the first impact that it has is any element of this particular curriculum standard that provides misinformation, factual inaccuracies. I think from an educational purist standpoint, which I pride myself on being, having left high school to go major in education, my undergraduate degree is in English education. So I'm a lifelong educator. And I believe that we have an obligation under the tenets and principles of education to provide factual information that is accurate. So where there are misrepresentations of facts, I think we have an obligation to correct them. And I hope that the Department of Education under the leadership of Commissioner Manny Diaz, who I've known for years, and I totally believe is a great lifelong educator committed to principles of truth and honesty and integrity in education. But on this particular case that came out of the work group, we have some factual inaccuracies that I hope that they take a second look at and correct. So, for example, there's one misrepresentation that's significant, and that is that certain individuals in our history were not slave owners. They were slave owners. You had some principles that reflect that Abraham Lincoln, who's always been a notable historical figure, that led his entire charge in the Civil War to abolish slavery. That is not true. Slavery was not his priority. It was bringing the Union together and ending the Civil War. That was the priority. Slavery or no slavery. And in his own words, he indicated that if slavery continues, that's fine. If slavery is discontinued, that's fine. But my priority, my number one priority, is to bring peace, solidarity, and unity to the nations, to the Union. That was his priority. There are also suggestions that slaves own slaves, and that was to somewhat marginalize the reality of the slave trade. That because blacks own slaves as well. It fails to mention that blacks did not enslave blacks. In some cases, a husband may have been freed and had to buy his wife. A husband may have gotten free and bought his children, bought his mother, bought his uncle. So they were under the tenets of slavery on paper, but they were not necessarily enslavers. So when you start to put out these particular notions to seemingly marginalize the horrors of slavery, I think that's a dangerous and slippery slope to pass on to our children. Children, I might add, that may not have developed the capacity to really discern and debate and debunk some of these notions in a critically way. So you have some of those, and I can go on and on with some of the inaccuracies. There are obviously some facts that are reflected throughout the curriculum, but as I said earlier, in education with our children, there is no margin of error. We have to get it right, starting with truth and starting with facts.
So, Dr. Gallen, why do you think the governor, lawmakers, education commission, why do you think they would want to reframe this history in such a way? What's the motive?
I don't think it's prudent for me to speculate on the governor's intent, the legislature's intent, but obviously there has been a national movement regarding some issues of race relations, some issues of trying to make people feel comfortable regarding some of the horrors of slavery, some of the horrors of lynching, some of the horrors of segregation, some of the horrors that reflect the history of this country. This country, we know, was built on struggle, was built on protest. And quite frankly, when we talk about beneficiaries of slavery, this country was built on the brutal, battered, blistered backs of Black people. That's a fact. We have to own that and understand that's part of our journey. That's part of our story. That's not Black history. That's American history. So I don't want to speculate on what their intent is, but I will say that some of the individuals of the work group who have sought to defend some of the elements of this curriculum are Black. They're Black. They're Black. You have two figures in the work group who are African Americans who have taken a position to defend some of the language, speaking specifically to the benefits of slavery and also speaking to some of the atrocities that occurred in the struggle, such as the OC massacre, where they say Blacks also were perpetrators of violence. Blacks were defending themselves. There is a difference. There is a difference. So you have obviously legislative positions that have been brought forth, but the actual work that's done that has resulted in these particular standards are done by individuals that were a part of a work group, notwithstanding the fact that we have a standing African American History Task Force that was not a part of that particular process. So again, we can make it a black and white issue, but in some cases, we have to be transparent about others who are complicit in carrying out and defending this narrative and defending their hands and their heads in this work. And some of those individuals, as I noted, are actually two Blacks.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. You know, when
I want to say, well, what comes out of that is some who share a certain ideology. So it's not about Black, it's not about white, it's not about Hispanic in some cases. It's about an ideology. And that is what we have to look out for. So while we're looking at race-related issues, we have to understand and contemplate and anticipate some of the ideologies by which some of these issues have given birth.
Absolutely, I can agree. So with that being said, do you see an end in sight? Do you think that we're going to have more of these battles to come? And I know you talked about having the language changed, removed. How easy of a task is that? Is that something where this commission, for example, can just say, you know what, you're right. Let's take a second look. Let's edit it and make it happen. Is it that simple?
Well, that's the initial impetus to have the language change. It obviously was born out of the work group that was facilitated through the Commission of Education's office, but ultimately that was approved by the State Board of Education. So the State Board of Education actually adopted these standards. So if there are some corrections made, if there are some revisions made, obviously they would have to go through that particular process, and they would have to be adopted as a revision to those standards that have caused so much consternation.
Dr. Gallen, stay with me as we take another commercial break. Thank you.
Your organization's ability to thrive is dependent upon your vision, hard work, and the people you employ. Wolf Creek Consulting is a top-rated executive staffing firm specializing in placing professionals in finance, IT, healthcare, and construction. We're a boutique executive staffing firm that focuses on recruiting the best and brightest candidates that are not aggressively pursuing opportunities, but are keeping their options open. From recruitment to workforce management, we offer solutions that reduce your human cost and turnover. We work with clients under several different options to include permanent placement, temporary, and temp to hire. Our clients are our partners, and we work to understand the job requirements and skills required for a candidate to be successful. Intelligent Staffing Solutions. To learn more, please give us a call.
Help comes in many forms. As a Miami-Dade County bus operator, you can help your community, help those in need, and even help yourself. Operators have the opportunity to earn more than $50,000 a year plus built-in overtime, earn more than 13 paid holidays and vacation days, and take advantage of the tuition reimbursement program. Plus, qualified new drivers will receive a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Become a driving force in our community. Apply now at miamidade.gov/busdriver.
When quality care is a priority for you and your family, choose Pediatric and Family Health and Wellness Center.
Hola. ¿Cómo estás hoy?
Muy bien, gracias a Dios.
Okay. Bien. How are you?
Welcome!
MIA Media Group. We are the largest distributors of Black content in the state of Florida. We editorialize the success and achievement of the Black South Florida community. Our platforms are print, digital, and broadcast. We are Black Excellence.
Welcome back, Dr. Gallen. This has been such a great conversation. It seems that you're going to be able to take this conversation to the public with an upcoming town hall. Tell us more about this town hall meeting. I understand that the Florida Education Commissioner, Manny Diaz, has been invited to attend and speak at this town hall. Let's talk more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to my good friend, Senator Chevron Jones, who was the initial catalyst for this conversation. My other colleague, Dr. Rosgood, Senator Osmond Rosgood, who was the former school board member in Broward County. So you have two individuals who understand the landscape of public education and who are strong advocates for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Shout out to our Pastor Arthur Jackson of Antioch Missionary Baptist Church in Miami Gardens. And we know that it's not lost, and it should not be lost, that the town hall meeting is going to be held in Miami Gardens, the largest Black city in Florida. And again, we invited Manny Diaz, who is a native of Miami-Dade. So he's from this community. He knows members of this community. And this will be an opportunity for us to have a conversation as a community, but to extend that invitation to him as the Commissioner of Education overseeing this particular process, to clarify, to hear concerns. As I mentioned previously, we want our voices heard, but our voices cannot be voices that are singing in the wilderness. We want to make sure that those who are in positions of power and influence and who are in positions of accountability to make changes and correction to these particular issues hear from the people who are thereby affected and provide the level of response, clarification, and correction. We don't anticipate this being a platform for hostility, but a platform for meaningful, respectful discourse. And I've had an opportunity to have this dance previously. Senator Jones and I partnered here in Miami Gardens on another contentious issue with the previous Commissioner of Education, which was Richard Corcoran. We came out, we spoke to the community, and we had an opportunity to have some meaningful dialogue. Obviously, Anne-Marie, I will say that this issue is much more emotional. It is much more polarizing. It is much more hurtful to many communities because obviously it cuts to the core of issues of race, of history, and of affliction that really reflect some of the most horrific atrocities that occurred. That being said, we have an opportunity, and I think as leaders, we have an obligation to have those conversations, what we call in some cases, those courageous conversations around issues that affects our community, that affects our schools, but most importantly, that affects our children. And we want to come together to have that conversation, and we're prayerful that the commissioner will be there to join us in this community conversation at Miami Gardens at Antioch Missionary Baptist Church under the leadership of Pastor Arthur Jackson.
Well, let's tell everyone how they can register to attend, who should attend, and will they be able to ask questions?
Yes, the format obviously should be a community conversation. There's a registration process so that we make sure that we account for the individuals that are going to be there. It is an Eventbrite event. The flyer has been disseminated on social media platforms. It's been advertised in various media platforms. We're very thankful to Legacy Leaders for providing this platform to get the word out, of which I'm sure you will. So again, we're looking forward to it this coming Thursday, August 10th at 7 o'clock p.m. at Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. Looking forward to it, and again, to have a meaningful community conversation. And our history has always taught us that the changes, that the journey, that the issues were always resolved, always discussed, always addressed out of the church. So we are very optimistic to look back to what history has taught us, that the church has always been the bedrock. And again, we're very, very grateful to Pastor Jackson for opening the doors of Antioch for this meaningful community conversation.
Absolutely. Well, I hope those who are listening can attend and please spread the word. Very important discussion. Thank you for joining me, Dr. Steve Gallen, the 3rd Miami-Dade County School Board Member, District 1. And thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Sorrell. See you next time on Legacy Leaders.